In Activity 10, Identifying Rocks, students discuss the three ways in which rocks are formed in nature. They first observe rock specimens 11 through 24, and then identify the rocks based on their origins and properties. You will need the following materials from the kit: Activity Sheet 10, Activity Sheets 3 through 6, rock data sheets, containers with lids, glass plates, magnifiers, steel nails, rock specimens 11 through 24, streak plates, vinegar, classes of rock chart, and the rock guide. You will also need to provide masking tape, newspapers, paper towels, pennies, and safety goggles. To prepare for the activity, make a copy of Activity Sheet 10 and the rock data sheet for each student. Make sure to have the rock guide on hand for reference. For each group of 4 students, prepare a storage container with a set of rock specimens 11 through 24 and 2 magnifiers. The other materials may be distributed and used later in the activity, depending on student interest. To begin the activity, review the definitions of rock and mineral with the class, as well as the 3 classes of rock: sedimentary, igneous, and metamorphic. Also, encourage students to recall the process of petrifaction. Ask students, knowing that sedimentary rock is formed by the accumulation of sediment, what do you think rocks formed in this way might look like? Students may note the layered appearance and sandy or fine-grained texture of sedimentary rock in their answers. Next, define magma for the class as melted or molten rock within the earth. Explain that the type of magma that reaches the surface through volcanic activity is called lava. Ask students, what do you think rocks formed in this way might look like, knowing that the cooling of melted rock forms igneous rock? Students should note that the igneous rocks provided in this kit can be identified by a glassy appearance, bubbled and porous texture, or a pattern of interlocking crystals. Then ask students, knowing that heat and pressure acting on existing rocks form metamorphic rock, what do you think rocks formed in this way might look like? Students should identify metamorphic by their sparkling appearance, compact structure, and texture. Ask students, in which kind of rocks do you think fossils might be found? In formulating their responses, students should consider the 3 basic processes involved in the formation of rocks. Explain to the class that in one process of fossilization, plant and animal remains may settle to the bottom of a body of water and be preserved under subsequent layers of sediment. In a second process, sedimentary rocks containing fossils may then go on to become metamorphic rock. Finally, in a third process, petrified remains can be identified by the presence of fossils in the rock, or the entire specimen may be a petrified piece of material. Next, divide the class into teams of 4 and distribute a container of rock specimens and magnifiers to each team. Hand out a copy of Activity Sheet 10 to each student. While you hang the class of rock chart, encourage students to examine their rock specimens. Note that one of the rock specimens, galena, is a naturally occurring lead compound. Therefore, students should wash their hands thoroughly after handling this and all the rock and mineral specimens. Refer to the properties of sedimentary rock and ask, which specimens do you think are sedimentary rocks? Students should look for the rocks that are not sparkling, appear layered, seem grainy or sandy, and look soft and dull. Instruct students to record their predictions on Activity Sheet 10 under the heading Sedimentary. Specimens 15, 16, 17, and 18 are all sedimentary rocks. Ask students to compare these answers with their predictions and to make changes to their activity sheet as necessary. Set these 4 specimens aside for now. Next, refer to the properties of igneous rock and ask students, which specimens do you think are igneous rocks? Students should identify rocks that appear glassy, are lightweight, have bubbled or porous texture and sharp edges, and exhibit interlocking crystals. Tell students to record their predictions on Activity Sheet 10. Specimens 11, 12, 13, and 14 are igneous rocks. Students should compare the correct answers with their predictions and make changes to their activity sheets as necessary. Have students set these 4 specimens aside. Refer to the properties of metamorphic rock and ask, which specimens do you think are metamorphic rocks? Students should look for rocks that appear compact, have coarse grain, are possibly layered, and are sparkling in appearance. Tell students to record their predictions on the activity sheet. Specimens 19, 20, 21, and 22 are metamorphic rocks. Note that sources disagree on the origin of specimen 19, coal. Some consider coal a sedimentary rock, while others consider it a metamorphic rock. Students should compare the correct answers with their predictions, make any necessary changes to the activity sheet, and then set these 4 specimens aside. This leaves specimens 23 and 24. Guide students to understand that these specimens are examples of rocks formed by petrifaction. Specimen 23 is petrified wood, and specimen 24 contains the petrified remains of snail shells. Have students add this information to the activity sheet. If students would like to perform a test to determine the mineral content of some of their rocks, guide them by stating that 3 of these rock specimens will fizz during the acid test. Ask students which mineral is identified by the acid test. Help students understand that calcium carbonate causes vinegar, a weak acid, to fizz. Students should identify the 3 rock specimens that contain calcium carbonate: specimen 17, limestone, specimen 18, chalk, and specimen 20, marble. Students may also want to conduct the hardness, luster, and streak tests on some of the rock specimens to see if they can identify the mineral content of these rocks. Warn them, however, that these tests may not work as well on the rock specimens as they did on mineral specimens 1 through 10. This is because some rocks contain more than one mineral, or the mineral components in the rocks may be buried or may be too small to see and to test. Therefore, have students choose specimens that appear to contain crystal or mineral fragments on their surface, and to avoid specimens 23 and 24, as these tests should not be performed on petrified material. Instruct students to add their test results to the properties listed next to each specimen number on Activity Sheet 10. Next, distribute a copy of the rock data sheet to each student and have the students retrieve Activity Sheets 3 through 6. Tell students to take 1 rock specimen at a time and assign a name to that specimen by observing it and comparing the information they have recorded on Activity Sheet 10 with the information provided on the rock data sheet. Students may also want to refer to the test results on Activity Sheets 3 through 6. Assure the class that between Activity Sheet 10 and the rock data sheet, there should be enough information to assign a name to each specimen number on Activity Sheet 10, and then assign a specimen number after each name on the rock data sheet. Then, lead the students in a discussion of their results, and help teams resolve any discrepancies in their data. Finally, tell the students to add to their lists they are keeping of the different ways that rocks and minerals are used today and how they have been used in the past. Remind students that the purpose of these lists is to focus the students' attention on specific properties of rocks and minerals, and why one kind of rock or mineral is more suitable for an application than another. To conclude the activity, tell students to return all rock samples to the bags and all kit materials to the kit. Discard all soiled paper towels and newspaper. For science background, reinforcement activities, curriculum connections, and information about the Delta Science Reader, please consult your DSM Teacher's Guide.